If you're in your early 50s and don't plan on retiring until your mid to late 60s, this video is for you. Most people think that planning for retirement is linear. You save diligently, follow a plan, and when the numbers work, you retire. But the truth is, life isn't that predictable, and so much can change, especially after the age of 55. In this video, I'm going to explain why the years between 55 and 65 can be one of the more financially sensitive phases of your life, even if you've done everything right. I'm a certified financial planner and wealth associate of Confluence Financial Partners, and I've had the opportunity to assist hundreds of people in their retirement planning. And I can tell you that there is no phase more important to plan for than the one that we'll be discussing today. After age 55, the risks that can affect your planned retirement date increase significantly. Health issues, job loss, and caregiving needs are more likely to arise. And in that time period, when you're more than likely earning and saving the most, they are also the most consequential years. That's what makes this time so unique and so critical to plan around. So today we're going to talk about what really changes after age 55 and why it matters, and how you can create a plan that can withstand it. There's a term in retirement research called the retirement risk zone. It describes a 10-year window that begins roughly 5 years before retirement and continues about 5 years after retirement. What makes this period so sensitive is the financial decisions or life events during this time can have an outsized impact on your retirement outcome. And here's why. You have fewer working years to recover from a major financial downturn. Your portfolio is likely at its largest, meaning that a market decline affects a greater dollar amount. You may be tempted to retire early if work becomes less fulfilling or mentally and physically demanding. And healthcare costs begin to rise, sometimes significantly, even before Medicare eligibility. And when it comes to your portfolio, a 20% loss at 45 can feel quite different than a 20% loss at 58. At 45, you have time. You have additional income and flexibility to adjust if the market pulls back. At 58 or later into your early 60s, the same loss could affect your retirement timeline or potentially reduce your future income if not properly planned for. That's why this phase of life requires a different planning lens. One of the least understood financial risks in retirement is called sequence of returns risk. It's not just how much your investments earn over time, it's when they earn it. If your portfolio experiences negative returns early on in retirement, right when you're starting to withdraw from those positions that are down, that can drastically reduce its ability to support you over the long term, even if the long-term average return is acceptable. Here's an example. Two retirees both average 6% per year over a 25-year retirement. But if one of them gets a worse market returns in the first couple years and the other experiences bad returns in the later part of retirement, the difference in their ending portfolio amounts can be quite significant. And this is especially important between the ages of 55 and 65, because many people might begin withdrawing from their retirement accounts, maybe reducing their working hours, or completely stop contributing to retirement accounts entirely. So mitigating this risk involves more than just choosing a conservative portfolio. It means setting up cash flow buffers, rebalancing with discipline, and in some cases, even delaying retirement or adjusting withdrawal rates based on market conditions, which is something we'll talk about soon. This is why I believe retirement planning is not a set it and forget it exercise. It's an ongoing, dynamic process. Now, as you pass age 55, the risk of unexpected job loss or health issues can rise sharply. According to the Employee Benefits Research Institute, 40% of workers retired earlier than they had planned. And of that 40%, 70 of those retirements were involuntary, most often due to health problems, layoffs, or caregiving needs. And even the most financially prepared individuals can find themselves unexpectedly forced into retirement. And at 58 or 60, getting rehired at the same salary or even rehired at all can become difficult. That's why we always encourage clients over 55 to start preparing for a scenario where maybe retirement doesn't happen on their terms. I call this shift from accumulation mode to preservation and preparation mode. And here's what that looks like in practice. Make sure you run early retirement scenarios in your financial planning software. Plan for the possibility of retiring at 55, maybe 58, or even 60, and not just 65 or 67, whatever age that you were originally planning to retire. Reassess your risk exposure. If it makes sense within your plan, you can begin to maybe reduce some high volatility assets within your portfolio, building more stability into your portfolio. And as always, you can build a cash buffer. And it's always good to have a backup income plan if possible. Consider how you might be able to attain part-time work, consulting work, or maybe more of a phased retirement strategy to lessen the reliance on your investment portfolio right away. Because at the end of the day, all this planning is with the idea that you don't want to ever get in a situation that you feel like you're panicking. You want to be prepared. Now, a solid retirement strategy shouldn't just work if everything goes right. It should still hold up if life throws you a curveball. Now, one of the most overlooked challenges after age 55 is planning for healthcare, particularly if you retire before age 65. And that's because Medicare eligibility begins at age 65. So if you retire before then, you'll need to cover your own private health insurance, and premiums can be quite significantly higher than most people expect. According to Milliman's 2024 Retiree Health Cost Index, a healthy 65-year-old couple retiring today with original Medicare plus Medigap and Part D could end up spending approximately $600,000 in healthcare over their retirement. Now, that's a value of about $395,000 in today's dollars, excluding long-term care. So clearly healthcare is going to take up a large part of your budget in retirement. The challenge is even more acute for early retirees, as I mentioned, because marketplace premiums and high deductibles can create substantial out-of-pocket costs, especially if you have chronic health conditions or require regular prescriptions. This is where, if you have it, a health savings account or an HSA can be a great option to help fund medical expenses. Early retirement bridge strategies to be able to cover those private health insurance premiums and deductibles, and dynamic financial planning can come into play, really to stress test different portfolios and scenarios for yourself. And as I always say, building this into your plan early while you're still covered by your employer-sponsored health insurance can create far more flexibility for you later on, and at least give you the peace of mind that you have a good idea of what your plan is going to look like, including one of your larger expenses, and that's healthcare. Now, at this stage, many retirees can default to the rigid withdrawal strategies, such as the commonplace 4% rule, without truly understanding the nuances that come into play after age 55. Now, if healthcare or other larger expenses, such as taxes and retirement, do have you thinking about what retirement could look like and whether or not you can spend the amount that you want to spend in retirement, you might find value in my retirement readiness review video. It's a personalized video that I'll send to you where I outline your retirement outlook and answer the core 4 retirement questions for you. So if you're interested, I'll put a link of that to the description. Now, if you do find yourself in the situation where you are forced to retire early, we can look at some ways that you can start to draw income from your retirement accounts without necessarily worrying about taking Social Security earlier. And so at this stage, many retirees might default to the rigid withdrawal strategy, otherwise known as the 4% rule, without really understanding the nuances that come into play when we're talking about an early retirement between the ages of, maybe 55 and 60. Now, a more effective and responsive approach is to implement what we call a risk-based guardrail system. This method adjusts your spending based on your portfolio performance and your risk thresholds, rather than just relying on a fixed withdrawal percentage. Think of it as a financial navigation system. If markets underperform or your portfolio declines, the plan prompts a conservative withdrawal adjustment. Conservatively, if markets do well and your portfolio exceeds expectations, the guardrails allows you to safely increase your spending. You see, this structure helps retirees avoid both ends of the emotional spectrum: panic during market downturns and overconfidence during strong bull markets. It also enables a more confident decision-making without needing to constantly check the market. What makes this especially useful in your late 50s and early 60s is that it provides clarity on how much flexibility your plan has before you even retire. It can give you more of a proactive framework to monitor your plan's health over time, because risk-based guardrails helps retirees move away from the fear of running out of money and towards a more balanced approach in retirement, one that accounts for both downside protection and the opportunity to enjoy more of your retirement while you're healthy and while you're active, which is so important. And finally, one of the most powerful tools between age 55 and 65 is proactive tax strategy or tax planning. This is the window where Roth conversions, capital gains harvesting, and income bracket management can really make a significant impact on your long-term net income. Because many people have lower taxable income after leaving work and before they file for Social Security and their RMDs or required minimum distributions begin, you may be in the lowest tax bracket of your retirement lifetime during this phase. So like I said, this becomes a prime opportunity to move funds from pre-tax accounts like your traditional IRA or your 401k to Roth accounts like a Roth IRA at a lower tax cost. It will also help you reduce future required minimum distributions like we mentioned, and potentially even lower your Medicare premium surcharges or IRMA, depending on the amount of income you have once you're Medicare age. But as with everything in retirement planning, timing can be key. Drawing too much income in one year could push you into a higher tax bracket or create unintended consequences. So a coordinated income, tax, healthcare strategy can become so essential. So if you're in your mid to late 50s, understand this. The final decade before retirement isn't just about finishing strong. It's about building resilience and a foundation to grow upon in retirement. It's when good decisions can matter more and bad surprises might hit you harder. But with the right strategy, you can navigate this phase confidently. So I would focus on protecting against early retirement risk, managing sequence of returns risk, planning for healthcare gaps in your plan, creating flexible income strategies, and optimizing your tax positioning. So if you liked what we covered today, like I said, I would encourage you to subscribe so you don't miss future content around tax strategies, retirement strategies, and overall best practices for an early and joyful retirement. I hope you found value in today's video, and as always, great days ahead.